Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, 2020 is a wrap, so I figured I'd make a video just talking about 2020 because this has been a year that has been unprecedented. I've never dealt with anything like 2020 in my entire life, so I thought I would just talk about that on the channel today, and I'll sprinkle some other stuff in there also. So, roll that intro. So yeah, 2020, I remember in year 2000 and everybody was worried what was going to happen to the world when it hit year 2000. They thought computers were going to blow up and everything crazy and the world was going to end. It's such a similar feeling I feel like 2020 was. It was unprecedented. The amount of tragedy the country had to deal with in 2020 because of the coronavirus or COVID-19. I went into 2020 thinking it was going to be just like every other year. I expected to go to a ton of conventions. I usually try to go to about 4 to 5 a year, and that was not going to happen. I expected to go, have fun, add a ton of things to my collection that I wanted to add, and that just wasn't the case. And it really made me think, like, how did we get through this year? What got us through this year? Tons of people have been going through everything in 2020. I'm blessed enough that I was still working, and I know a lot of people wasn't working. It's just one of those things where I just feel like I want to talk about it. This is kind of like I'm shooting from the hip here. I'm not going to write a script or anything for this because I feel like this is what 2020 has been for me, and I'm sure a lot of others. So the first thing I want to talk about was early on. Early on in 2020, the reports of this virus were very different. Like, some said it wasn't a big deal and some said it was. And it was like, you're kind of in the middle. You didn't know what to believe. Should you believe this news station or this guy or the president? Or a lot of people maybe didn't take it seriously. And it's just a weird time to be living in. We didn't have masks as a mandatory for a long time this year. And I've never dealt with anything like that. So it was obviously a big change, but it's something that had to be done. And I found myself just thinking back, like, what I wanted to do with 2020. And I expected just to do everything I wanted to do. But when the pandemic hit, it was just a rude awakening. I had a lot of time to think. I was actually still working though, so I was grateful for that. But it seemed like I had a lot more time on my hands when I wasn't at work, focusing on that and try to do things that I could do around the house and home improvement projects, stuff like that. So when I made the channel, it was mostly because I was passing time and I didn't have much to do because everything was closed or people were being quarantined. It was just crazy time. So I found myself just making videos. So I kind of wanted to talk about that first, the channel. I didn't think that people would be interested in hearing my memories or just talking about video games because there's a million channels on YouTube that do that. And it was just cool to actually interact with people because you couldn't really be around everybody. So when I got comments on the videos and things like that, it just really made my day. So I thought about just talking about a couple things that, helped me out through the year. So YouTube was big for me in 2020. I'm sure it was big for a lot of people, but I found myself watching a ton of YouTube. People were all cooped up in their house and it was awesome because they were making more content. So I kind of want to talk about a couple channels that, really helped me get through the year. And just when you felt like you had a long day or something and you came home and the crazy pandemic was going on and you felt depressed, these are some of the channels that I used to watch that just put a smile on my face or, gave me a laugh after a long day. So I kind of want to give them a shout out. One of the first channels that I watched and I started talking with actually, and I think we became pretty good friends, is Back in the Day. And this channel is super cool. His name's Joel and he just does unboxings. His channel's been around for a while, but he had a rebrand a little while back. And he's been focusing on unboxing like NES games, Super Nintendo games. And, just something so satisfying about watching somebody open up something in fantastic shape it kind of like is a time capsule that you just step right in, and they open the box up and everything, and it feels like you're back in 1990 opening up these awesome games. It's so cool. And I just want to give Joel a shout out because I think his channel is fantastic. He doesn't have that many subscribers, and he talks about memories a lot like me, which I'm huge about, like memories and reminiscing, obviously. So he has a ton of stories, and I just love his channel. And he's one of the channels that I really enjoyed getting off of work, coming home, and just turning it on and see if he had dropped a new video. And recently we started talking, and it's so crazy how somebody can be so far away, yet you connect with them so well. And that's how I felt about Joel and his channel, man. He really understands nostalgia is a hell of a drug. It's kind of like my vice. Some people are addicted to smoking, or some people are addicted to gambling, or things like that. But I'm addicted to nostalgia. For some reason, I just love holding something nostalgic. It just takes me back to a place. So when I'm stuck in my house during the pandemic, my mind could be anywhere. Couldn't lock that down. So I could watch his videos, and I would just takes me right back in the day. So Joel, I love the channel, and if you guys want to check out his channel, I'll leave a link in the description below because it's fantastic. And I know he has plans to do some more videos and do some things like that. So yeah, Joel, man, back in the day. It's an awesome channel. I think you should check it out. Another channel that really helped me out this year, and he's actually picking up some steam finally. It just felt like it took forever for him to catch on, and I'm glad that it's actually happening. And it's Rodman Gaming. It's so cool to just find somebody who has similar interests like you, and somehow when they release a video, it feels like that you've been wanting to see that video. Like, there's a couple videos that he did on his channel that I had been wanting to maybe play the game or just hear people talk about it. Like, I love Ninja Turtles. So anything on his channel that he would talk about Ninja Turtles, I was addicted to. So it was awesome to find his channel. And I recently kind of started chit-chatting back and forth on Instagram. And, his channel's finally picking up steam, and he really, really deserves it. I don't think it's the amount of subs the channel has. I think it's the passion for what they're talking about. Channels like Rodman Gaming, it's something that he does out of passion. And he just does it in his little game room. And he just walks around, finds ideas, and makes videos about it. So I really want to give a shout out to him because that's another channel that I love watching. I love catching a video when he releases it. And it's so cool to comment on his video and he immediately replies. It's just something about that thing when you get a YouTube notification that somebody left a comment or a reply to a comment. It's just a cool feeling. So if you guys want to check him out, I'll leave him in the description below also. And other than just watching YouTube, I played a lot of games in 2020. And I thought I'd go over some of the ones that just helped me make it through this crazy year. And first of all, not many people know, but I do play current games also, not just retro games. So I figured I'd start off with a couple of current gen games that I actually was able to play, and I think they're really good, so I think you should check them out. And some of them won't be just brand new games. Some of them I honestly discovered because of the pandemic, and I was just looking for things to play. First game I want to talk about is Resident Evil 3 Remake for the Xbox One. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and when Resident Evil 2 came out in 2019, that game was probably my favorite game of 2019. It was incredible. Just an absolute classic. When they announced Resident Evil 3, I was on the hype train for that also. And, it came out at the beginning of the year, and I think it came out in the first quarter of this year. So I really put some time in on it, and I had a good time with it. I was doing all the stuff to get the extra weapons and the battle game, and there was a lot of replayability there. It wasn't as good as Resident Evil 2, but it was still very impressive, and I think you should play it. It's a damn good remake. Another game that I actually had time to sit down and play was a game called Little Nightmares. And this game is pretty awesome. You're basically like a little, person in a little yellow trench coat. It kind of reminds me of a game called Limbo. Or if you've played a game called Inside, it's similar to that game design, where it's basically a side scroller and you just move to the right and try to figure out little puzzles to help you get further into the game. But the atmosphere in this game's fantastic. It really drew me in. I would just turn the lights off, put the headset on, and just be in the game, man. It was awesome. It was pretty creepy also, actually. So tons of little secrets to find and just an overall good game. And it was on the cheap side, so I think you guys should give it a try. It's called Little Nightmares. And the next game I want to talk about is probably my favorite current gen game that I have played in 2020. And that game is called Ori Will of the Wisps. If you haven't played this game, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. It's incredible. I don't know how else to put it into words how good this game is. It kind of got forgotten about because of the other big titles that came out this year, but this game is incredible. It's actually a sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, but I played Will of the Wisps on the Switch, but this game is absolutely fantastic. I don't want to talk a lot about it, only because I want you to experience this game. This game is 100% atmosphere. So if you get time, check it out. It's Ori Will of the Wisps. Now, I kind of want to talk about 2021. You know, what do I want out of it and where do I see myself going? Well, first of all, I'm hoping that we actually get conventions back, because since starting the channel, you know, it would be cool to actually go to a convention and see some of you guys and just mingle and talk to you guys in person. You know, it's kind of cool talking through YouTube, but there's so many conventions that go on in the US, and like they were literally all canceled last year. And that's a huge part of my year, is just going and looking for games that I need and seeing my other collecting buddies that I don't live nearby. So definitely getting the conventions back is going to be huge in 2021. Another thing that I'm going to work on is my overall well-being. You know, 2020 was pretty crippling for a lot of people, myself included. You know, I was fortunate enough to be working, but, you know, it's not all just having a job. It's 2020 was pretty straining mentally for a lot of people. So I'm going to focus a lot more on my health this year, physically and mentally. And it's a journey, but I think I can do it because it's time to make some changes. So being cooped up in the house really makes you want to, you know, get motivated. So that's another thing that I want to be working on. And last but not least, in 2021, I would love to talk about toys more on the channel. I know the main audience is for the video games, but toys were a huge part of my childhood. I didn't have them all, but I wanted them all. So thankfully now as an adult, I'm able to reacquire or acquire some of the things that I had or I wanted when I was a kid. And I would love to do more videos on them. I would love to talk about G.I. Joes if you guys would like to see that type of content. I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan. I want to continue to talk about Ninja Turtles because I have a decent amount of knowledge for both, and I would love to share it with you guys, because toys saw a huge spike in 2020 with collecting because everybody was cooped up in the house and people were just buying retro toys also. So finding them at the store was nearly impossible. All the new lines, like the G.I. Joe Classified line, the NECA Turtle line, I mean, just a ton of hard to find stuff because people were cooped up wanting to pick it all up. So I would love to talk about toys more often. And if you guys have any suggestions for toys, let me know. You know, I collect a lot of different things. I'd like to talk about maybe some boxes that I have for some toys and things like that. Vehicles and things like that. So yeah, I just want to branch out a little bit and talk about toys more often because I have a huge passion for toys also. But other than that, how do you guys think 2020 went? For me, it was rough. One good thing that came out of 2020 was some fantastic games and some fantastic retro-inspired toys. The world was going to shit, but the toy game and the video game was top-notch. So tell me what you guys think. What was your opinions of 2020? Leave them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep on reminiscing, baby.
The last thing we need is bad luck. Quick. Toss some salt over your right shoulder.
What the hell?